Woody Allen's Decades in Film.
A podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time. From Red Naxella Studios A&B in Hong Kong, we are your hosts, William Elvin and Q.
What's up, everyone? You're listening to What Would He Do? This is the What Would He Do podcast. We watch and talk about the films of Woody Allen in order, in chronological order. And wow, again, I kind of feel like this is another like interiors kind of like, a slap in the face. Like you're not prepared for it, right?
No, not at all.
Not at all. He wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't ready. He just went into the film cold, and now Q is here with a lot of questions.
Oh yeah, I'm angry. No. Okay,
he feels attacked for liking the early funny ones.
I feel like I wanna pick it right now. but before we get ahead of ourselves, again, welcome to all of our listeners. Thank you for reaching and listening to our podcast. What would he do? And for those of you who have just tuned in, who have no. This is your first episode. What Would He Do is basically a podcast that talks about Woody Allen's films in a chronological order, and Will knows about the films of Woody Allen, whereas myself, I do not know anything before watching it, and we discussed it right after. So as we were discussing, as we were talking about this film is called Stardust Memories, and it was shot in 1980. Oh, released rather in 1980. Okay, so Stardust Memories is one of Woody Allen's more complex works, underlined complex, where he plays Sandy Bates, a comedy filmmaker who gets invited to a retrospective of his own films. The film chronicles how he views his achieved celebrity status interspersed with his memories about failed relationships.
Yeah.
So that's our attempt to summarize what it is.
Yeah, it's so hard to summarize it. It's the premise. So let's call it the premise, right? That's what it's like. Those are the basics.
Yeah.
And even after we watched this film, Q and I were discussing. This is only the second time I've seen this film. So can you imagine? I've seen Interiors more than this. Interiors was like. It's more fun, but it hits me a lot harder
This time around
today than than the first time I saw it, and we will discuss a lot of it. Starting right now, I think we're just gonna dive into it. I think it's a deep well to dive into, and let's start.
It's fucking deep. I'm apologies for my expletives, but this movie leaves. If you're a first time viewer of this film, this will leave you confused, attacked, insulted, even. So William told me that Stardust Memories was literally Woody Allen's kind of like peak. It's his pinnacle as star director of Hollywood. Yeah,
right after Manhattan. So you've had a string of like critically acclaimed films, right?
Exactly.
A string of from Annie Hall to Interiors to Manhattan. That's three. That's a grand slam.
That's a grand slam for any sort of quality film. That's for sure. That's a championship right there. But watching this is like, he's like, hey, I'm this great director, writer, and fuck you, whatever I write, whatever I make, you will like it. Because I have the license to do this. It has that quality. And it felt very masturbatory. Because and I think rightly so, that he really was, putting it in your face to to see the film. But although it felt like that, I don't think that was kind of like the 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 point,
Yeah.
because it really feels like a deep dive into kind of like the creative process
Right.
and the creative psyche, uh, and the way that it was shot. Like, I was the first the first word that came to mind as I was watching the first 20 minutes of the show, I was like, the overlying theme is overwhelming and
Mm-hmm.
chaos.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
it felt like that. And I think he really, I would assume that uh the audience at the time would have felt like, oh, it's this is Woody Allen is just flexing, and he's exaggerating with,
Yeah.
how it feels to be a star director.
Yeah. A
But
big time director.
yeah, yeah, big time, a
Yeah.
big. So this is like filled with big dick energy,
Yeah. Right. 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 This is
as
this
we
is
call
his
it.
this is his big dick movie.
Yeah. But what I kind of felt looking at it is that it feels like it wasn't meant to be exaggerated, and I don't think it was exaggerated
Yeah.
at all. Like, knowing that he had that kind of reputation, like being the star director that he was during this time, I could imagine those scenes where you walk into a room and everyone's just
Hmm.
flocking towards you, and the way that it was shot, that in the first person you'd see like hands going into your, as it really going into your face, people moving close, people talking to you about their daughter, their son,
Yeah.
their
Yeah. Yeah.
their 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 cause, their
Yeah.
cancer societies, whatever,
Yeah.
orphanages. It's just a battery of all of this, and I don't think he exaggerated that one bit. It felt, I mean, I wouldn't know firsthand because I was never, in the limelight. But looking at it from today's perspective, where if you're a Hollywood star, if you're a K-pop star, and
Oh
just
yeah. Yeah.
how fans just flock and lambast and go in your face, that you don't have a private life anymore. That's how it felt, and that's how overwhelming it felt.
Yeah. And that's why when we were discussing off air, I I told Q that I think this movie is one of those like prototype BoJack Horsemans.
Mm.
Um, commentaries about the celebrity culture and how people think being a celebrity is cool and all, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're famous and they feel loved. Everywhere they go, they, they bathe in praises and things like that, and that's exactly what we see here, but it's
Yeah.
not it's not a great picture of that. It's
Yeah.
not a it puts you on it puts you on in from the perspective of celebrities. How, as you
Yeah.
said, like faces going to your faces, like, why
Oh
don't you
yeah. Yeah.
write
Yeah.
a movie about this? And this happens.
Mm.
Obviously we're not big stars like Woody Allen is, right? Especially how Woody Allen was. But
Yeah. At the time. Yeah.
personally, I've been in the entertainment industry for a very,
Hmm.
very long time, and this exactly feels like how people interact with celebrities.
Yep.
The way, not just the fans, the executives, producers. These are the ways that, like, it feels like that. And
Yeah.
as Q said, it doesn't feel like an exaggeration to us because we've kind of seen that
How it
kind of
is. Yeah.
lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I had a friend who was in a very big rock band in the Philippines, and we were walking. inside a mall, and there was this like group of girls who ran towards us, and
Yeah.
he just signaled me to run, and we were running, and it's imagine, and we're just like what, a pair of doofuses in the Philippines. Imagine if you're like
Yeah.
imagine if you're the Beatles, imagine if you're
Oh
Bob
yeah.
Dylan,
Oh
imagine
yeah.
if you're
Oh
Woody
yeah.
Allen.
Yeah.
So that's
The amount
how
the
relatable this was to me.
yeah your star is just too shiny to not be
Exactly.
noticed. Yeah.
Right. And a thing of note is like this is remember how I told you about Woody doesn't like a lot of his movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
He names, I think he names three that he really
Mm-hmm.
liked. This would be one of them. This Stardust Memories, The Purple Rose of Cairo, and Match Point. Those are the only three movies that he always would say like, yeah, I like those. The way he puts it is that if it was taken as a film that attacks the fans, that attacks the
Mm-hmm.
critics, he said he kind of regrets that it was taken that way, because the point of the movie is to show that, here's someone who's now a star, who's now a celebrity, and who can do anything. He even tried escaping like a gun crime, like a crime of like possessing a gun because he's a celebrity.
Because he's
So
a
it's like
celebrity.
here's someone who's now a big star, who thinks he's untouchable, but he's unhappy. That's the point of
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah.
And I think the ending of this film really summarizes that.
Yeah.
After all the hype, after all the glory, he's alone in the cinema theater, and it just feels lonely. I think that's how to sum this thing up.
Before we continue today's discussion, we'd like to invite everyone to follow us on our channels and social media accounts. What Would He Do podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and other major streaming platforms.
Yes, you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is visit our homepage at www.williamelvin.com/whatwouldydoo for all our links.
Or you can email us, and we'd love to have a quick chat with you at whatwouldydoo@gmail.com. There are certain points in the film that I felt that it wanted to end it. You know, do you sometimes you have scenes where you think it's going the film ends there or the show ends there, and that it keeps on continuing.
Yeah.
So it at a lot of points during the film, I felt like that. Oh, is this the ending? Oh, it's not yet the ending. Oh, okay, it's gonna end now. Oh, what? It continued. So it felt a lot like that. Like it felt stop and go, stop and go. But I agree when you said that. Yeah, this film also has sad clown vibes for me.
Yeah, this is a sad clown. Yeah. You've in the retrospective, you've used that word twice so far.
Yeah.
One for Annie Hall and one
Yeah.
for this one.
Yeah. Because in the grand scheme of things, I mean, in the whole film, it's always kind of like hyped up, like he's a great guy, he's the genius, it almost felt like the Emperor's new clothes,
Yeah.
you know. Like, oh, particularly that scene where they were glorifying his magician act, where
Oh yeah, right.
he was the child, the child Sandy was doing
Yeah.
a magic trick,
With
like
the
raising
ball,
that
right?
ball, and he was
Yeah,
like,
right.
people were like, oh, he's a genius, wow, that's amazing, and I'm like, that's just a ball on a string.
Now, how do you explain him levitating Jessica Harper? Just like-
But it has a lot of that, and I was just telling William earlier that this film is almost so obviously he's deliberately mocking the audience and almost challenging them to try and ask questions
Mm.
challenge him, like, oh, okay, so what do you think I'm trying to say here? So it's
Yeah.
a lot of that. It's a lot of that people try to inject a lot of meaning into certain aspects of art in
Mhm.
general, not just this film, when the fact of the matter is, I just think it's cute, or
Yeah.
I was just making trying to be funny, I was just trying to
Yeah.
make a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people always try to overthink and over qualify and overstate what the artist is trying to
Yeah.
say, and I think this movie is such a good example of that.
You mentioned because I mean we're both creative people.
Hmm.
We've been in the creative life for the longest time. I can't
Yeah,
remember a time in my life where I wasn't like
was
this.
never. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and people would always do that, like say, why did you write this song? What you mean? And you know they're dumbfounded when I say something like I was just trying to write a, a song. You know, I was alone in my bedroom and I did not have anything to do and I wrote that thing. And they don't want to hear I mean a lot of people don't want to hear that explanation. They want to hear like what was your motivation? This is this your experience or whatever. And it's like sometimes it just happens, you know, you
Yeah.
put something on paper and that's it. Sometimes it gets made, sometimes it doesn't get made.
And sometimes as an artist, you now feel kind of compelled to describe it in a more profound way. Like, okay, so I'm a graphic artist, designer, creative director. And there have been times when, as a creative, and to sell a particular aesthetic, like for example, if I make a logo
Yeah.
and that logo is red, sometimes it just looks nice red.
That's true.
Whenever I'd write the rational to as to why I made it a certain color, I now have the responsibility to do my research and say, oh, because red psychologically entices people to want food. When the fact of the matter is, I made this red because I don't want it to be blue.
Yeah, you wanted to, or you wanted to be like, if you're looking at something, then you'd see the color red, and you'd just like,
Yeah,
okay, I see it.
exactly. And I mean, not to rag on like people who intelligently design and
Yeah,
have all of those meanings and in the back, but sometimes people just overcomplicate
yeah.
things.
And I think it's perfectly captured with the press conference bits.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's a lot of funny jokes in this film.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is a
yeah.
funny film. As you said, it's
Very,
a
very
sad
well.
clown
Yeah.
thing, but a lot of the jokes here just like really just are funny. I think one of my favorite jokes in this film is that someone asked him, "But is it true that you're a narcissist?" And he says like, "No, in fact, if I were to name my favorite Greek mythological character, it's not Narcissus. So who is it? Zeus." It's just like perfect, right? And I think it captures that because like this is also the same scene where people would ask him like, so what's the deeper meaning in this? And he
Yeah,
would just say, I
correct.
was just trying to be funny. And I think knowing Woody's work, I think he basically operated that way. And you know, he doesn't have a lot of time to overthink his stuff.
Correct.
He
Correct.
does one movie a year.
Yeah.
And you know how hard it is to like overthink, right? If you
Oh yeah.
overthink,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't finish anything.
Yeah.
So I would imagine Woody's the kind of guy who would just like write whatever he has in mind and
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't have the time to overthink it. He just does it. And this is why later on in his career, you know, when he's older and much more he's not as I don't know how old he
How he
feels or
is.
whatever, but obviously he won't be as physically vigorous
Yeah.
as this was
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But you
Correct.
know, when he was older and he would just like, you know, he would still do films and he'd sometimes make, you know, inferior films than others, understandably so, because like he's just gonna sit down there and write his stuff and he just wants to make movies. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this film is. You know, he was trying
Mm.
to tell people that I'm a director. I you like my stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm doing all this because I want to do it.
Yeah,
He
it.
said, like, you remember that line where he said, there's this stretch about him dying, right? Like he was shot by a fan.
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
and he said, if I would trade one Oscar just to have my life back
Oh,
again.
that scene
Yeah,
was beautiful. That
yeah,
scene was
right.
beautiful. Where, and then from that silhouette in the background, he suddenly came to the
Yeah,
podium, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah.
this
Some
is super
inventive
out
stuff
of
here. It's like,
body.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, no, but good thing that you brought up that those press conferences. There was one particular one that I like when he was asked about how if he studied philosophy in
Yeah.
school.
Existential philosophy.
Yeah. And he's like, they gave me 10 questions and I couldn't answer any of them. And I left them all blank. I got 100.
See, it's like he's, and it's like, if you're a Woody Allen comedy fan, like if you're
Yeah.
going there for the comedy, it just frustrates you more. I would think so. Cause like you
Mm.
go there and you hear these funny stuff. It's you could have gone to a Woody Allen stand up show and heard that, and it's like that
Yeah.
is one of his best materials.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's put in here in a film where it feels like it's mocking you for laughing at that same joke. It's like that,
Yeah.
and I could understand why people were frustrated when they first saw this thing. Another one that Woody brings up, and I'm sure you'd find this interesting, is that
Hmm.
this was made in 1980, right?
Yes.
So you remember how he did the scene where he was walking, and a fan randomly approached him and says, "Hey, you're my hero," and then shoots him
And
point
shoots him.
blank,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I heard this in his autobiography, and he says, like, I made this movie, and a few months later, John Lennon was shot the same way.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, here's a guy who's like, um lamenting on how cold and lonely the celebrity life is, and how
Hmm.
how it's not really what it's, what it's said to be.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
and it kind of he kind of predicted something, because John Lennon was one of the biggest stars in the world, and he dies that same way. A fan just goes up to him, and he the killer made him sign an
An autograph.
autograph
Yeah.
before shooting John Lennon. It's
Did,
it's exactly the same way of, compared to how he did this
yeah,
scene.
yeah, yeah. And I think there's it's surprising that this hasn't that exact crime hasn't that crime happened like multiple times in the past as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's
yeah,
a it's an unfortunate trend that happens
yeah.
to kind of like big celebrities, not even that big celebrities. There I remember there's this other actress, but I mean I digress. um but yeah, I mean it's
Well, it
this
doesn't
movie.
matter if you're a big celebrity or you're just like
Yeah, yeah,
a
exactly.
small celebrity. Whenever you're affecting a lot of people, it tends to happen.
Yeah.
The guitarist for the metal band Pantera
Mm,
was killed the
like
same
that.
day John Lennon was shot
Oh
on
wow.
stage while they were in a concert, if I remember it
What the
correctly. So
hell?
this is something that you put people in a certain status,
Yeah.
as this one, just like how Woody
Mm.
Allen was at this point. And you kind of, if you are, I think if you have the same level of creativity, and if you're as prolific as Woody Allen, you'd kind of do some kind of thing like this too.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's a reaction to everything that's happening in your life, and at the end of the day, art is like that.
Yeah. I mean, isn't art supposed to be you? You have to be happy for it yourself first. You have to
Right,
please yourself first, right?
right.
And I think that's his answer to that. And this is basically kind of like a demonstration of I'm doing this not for you, but for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hence,
Like
it
this
feels masturbatory
masturbatory. Yeah,
at
exactly,
times,
exactly.
and yeah.
Yeah. And what was this line? He had that exact line. Let me see if I can bring it up. Um, oh, you can you can't control life. It doesn't line up perfectly. Only art. You can't only art you can control. Art and masturbation, two areas in which I am an absolute expert.
See, that's it. Like he's spelling it out for us there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also of note is that this film is also um, inspired by one of his idols. Federico Fellini has a film called Eight and a Half, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like this. It's an autobiography of like of how his mental his state was at that time when he made the film, and it's kind of like this. And I think he wanted to name the film, I don't know, four or just to say that he's not as good as Fellini, not even half of it. But he went with Stardust Memories, and that's we can hear the Louis Armstrong version of Stardust towards the end of the film, and that gives that title. That gives the movie the title. But also,
Hmm.
another one of the significant things that happened in this movie is that this was Sharon Stone's film debut.
Really?
Sharon Stone, this is her first appearance in any movie, and
Really?
she was the
Who was she?
girl blowing kisses to Woody. That's Sharon Stone. Yeah,
Oh, that's why she looks
yeah,
so fucking familiar.
yeah. So Sharon Stone, we have to thank this movie for introducing Sharon Stone to
Thank
the world
you.
of film. Um, Again, this is Woody Allen doing perfect castings of people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I told you about, like, this feels like it has some callbacks to his like past films, right?
Yeah.
Someone asks
Yeah.
him if he has a if he ever had a real experience with animals sexually. We also see Louis Lasser here. I
Yes.
think
Yes.
I'm not sure, but I think it's for the last time in Woody's filmography we see Louise Lasser here,
Mm-hmm.
as the secretary, right?
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of things that Woody Allen would do, you would go back to this film and see it, if I'm not mistaken, done first here. Like the long shots of like just showing one side of the conversation. You remember those shots, right?
Mm,
You know,
mm.
there's he was talking to Isabel, but the camera stays on Isabel, and she does this freaky
Yeah. I was like,
face
what?
exercise. Yeah, yeah. So
What is
it's
he
like
doing? What is she doing?
he was playing around with a lot of filmmaking ideas here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if anything, this is like, I think this is a perfect opening to the second decade of Woody Allen's career as a
Mm,
writer director. This opens up the 1980s for him, and
mm.
I think and Q would know what I mean along the way, because the 1980s is one of his most experimental decades
Oh, okay.
in his career.
This
So
is going to
this
be interesting
yeah,
then.
this sets the tone, and so I think it's like I was just keeping the suspense of the turn before interiors, but I think it's clear enough. Like for Q now, like it's
Yeah.
anything goes from here on out, right? What do you think?
Yeah. I think so. I think so. This this I mean, it feels experimental, and this kind of like feels that he's in the next few in the coming films he'll be playing more, so it's more playful in the sense of how he does his films,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but it won't pander too much for the audience, but more for him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an expectation that I have, that this will feel this won't be it most I mean the upcoming films won't feel too mainstream, is I think what I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
say. So
Well, he's gonna
that's
go back to the mainstream eventually,
I'm sure. I'm sure.
but it's well, this is an interesting lineup of films. Like the 1980s films are, um, it's not gonna be as experimental, in air quotes, as this
Yes.
one, um, but a lot of things you'd find interesting in terms of influence, and
Okay.
we'll get there. Like once you see
Okay.
something, it will certainly remind you of things you've seen later on from other directors.
I'm
So it's
sure.
like this is gonna be a very very interesting ride for Q, and of course for me, because personally the 1980s contains a lot of my favorite Woody Allen movies, and I can't wait for those films. Um, well, I don't think there's much to like really dissect from this
No,
film
no.
in terms of like story and whatever.
Yeah.
What I could say, it's a beautiful film. It's beautifully shot. Of course,
Yes.
Gordon Willis is still here as the cinematographer for this film. It's wonderfully shot. There's these shots, like, where he would just like show the whole field from a very far
Yeah. Yeah.
perspective of the camera and things like that, and it feels magnificent.
If you're enjoying our discussion, another perfect companion for your Woody Allen film marathons is the Woody Allen Pages podcast at www.woodyallenpages.com.
It's a great resource for film by film details that would surely add to your Woody Allen viewing experience. So check them out.
What do you think of his use of black and white here again? He's done back to back black and whites, right? Manhattan and this one.
Yeah. I think for this one, his use of black and white was made to make it less chaotic because it kind of like sets the tone. I mean, it washes it to make it more monotonous in that sense.
Yeah.
Because imagine all of the scenes where he's going into a room and he's going to be bombarded by everyone and they're all in different colors.
Yes.
That's going to be really really taxing to the viewer.
Right.
So I think in that sense, this his doing this in black and white kind of like, because you as the viewer, you're the one who adds color to. I don't know if that happens to everyone. And just a side note, because whenever I watch a black and white film, I imagine color.
Because you're a visual artist.
Yeah, because I'm a visual
Yeah.
artist. So
Yeah.
in my head and in my memory, that's probably I could see kind of like, I mean, the field. I can see that it's
It's
green or
yeah.
yellow or whatever. But that's me. I mean, I might be weird.
We're all
But-
weird. If you're an artist, you're automatically
Yeah.
weird.
Automatically weird. But I think the high contrasts. I mean, if you notice, like in the scenes, that he always kind of like really uses a lot of contrast, especially in the clothing. And
Right,
one
right.
particular scene that I love, like whenever he'd enter the hotel and they'd show kind of like all of the nice pillars of the hotel,
Yeah, right.
and
right.
it's always beautiful. And
Yeah.
did you notice that his dining room wallpaper always changes?
Oh yeah. I think it changes according to his mood at that time.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
first time is
exactly.
like, I think that photo is called Saigon Execution.
Yes.
It's a
with
real.
It's a real photo?
It's a real photo of someone being killed
getting
for real.
executed. Oh my god.
And then it turns into Groucho Marx
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
But this is like, this is a controlled set, right? A beautiful set from
Correct.
Santo Loquasto. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name.
What a name.
But yeah, I mean, he's gonna work with Woody a lot, and he's gonna do a lot of beautiful set pieces for Woody. This and I think this phenomenon started with you started noticing this with the Manhattan 2, right? You know the way
Mhm.
he would contrast colors,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
would play with the visual themes, and this
All of
is
the
gonna be
silhouettes and yeah.
this is going to be Woody Allen's style, and this is gonna be very very much associated to him, and we are excited to move forward. We've been getting a lot of messages and
Woohoo!
some emails from our listeners. Also, we received an email from I think this is the perfect time to say hello to them, right, Q?
Yeah, for
This
sure, for sure.
we had an email. We received an email from Michael Potter, who also
Woo!
does Woody Allen themed videos on YouTube. Just
Wow.
search for him, Michael Potter, and
Is he
watch.
related to Harry?
No, no, no. I think there's no magic here. The only magic here is like the Woody Allen magic. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
he's got.
yeah, yeah.
By the way, he's gonna talk a lot about magic because
Ye-
he really was a musician when he was a musician. Yes, yes,
a
he's a musician.
magician.
He's also a magician
Really?
in his youth, and he still I think he still knows how to do magic. So a
That's
lot of
amazing.
his later films would be about magic too. But anyway, that's Michael Potter. So search for him on YouTube. We'd also like to take the time to read an email from what's his name? Oh yeah, his name is James Almond from
Ooh.
Bristol, UK. So I think you could give some of your thoughts here now because you've seen at least a decade of Woody Allen, right? Because
Sure.
he wants to ask about the good Woody Allen choices. If there are children watching, of course we know that Woody Allen is not exactly your
Kid friendly.
Disney director,
Yeah.
yeah, right. You know,
Yeah.
you know that we know that.
Nah, we know that.
And he's asking what he could watch when the children are around because he just wants to enjoy something and well, yeah. He
Okay.
said here he has a line here in his email saying he might dig out Sleeper next because he's not sure if the kids are ready for Gene Wilder. Of
No,
course they're
no.
not. Don't show them that.
Please don't.
Yeah, but I think Sleeper is a good thing.
Sleeper
I
is a
think it's
good.
kind of
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Sleeper.
Sleeper is good. I
Yeah,
what I think if they will watch it, I think
yeah,
it's also good to just watch Take the Money and Run because I think that's one of his I mean it's stupid and
yeah.
slapstick.
Well, it still has a
Uh
bed scene with Janet Margolin, right?
it
But
does, but
it's not
but
that
it's never yeah, it's
yeah,
never
yeah, yeah, yeah,
explicit.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't think it
Um
was ever explicit though. But I mean,
well
in the themes are, but
yeah,
we haven't
exactly.
seen like nudity yet, and
No, no.
we haven't seen a lot of that. So
No, no, no.
yeah,
But yeah, based on my extensive watching of Woody Allen's films, yeah, I think sleep. I was yes, top of mind is Sleeper.
Sleeper.
Uh, yeah, don't let them watch Interiors. They might hate life.
Yeah, yeah. They might hate films. No. I mean, not for anything else, because for sure
Yeah,
they won't understand it that much.
exactly.
So that's why you shouldn't just like you shouldn't just
Yeah,
put them in that kind of experience because like it's useless because it doesn't help anyone. But I would say um, I think I would give three titles.
okay.
Uh, from my perspective, I would say Sleeper,
Hmm.
and another one would be The Purple Rose of Cairo,
Oh, I haven't seen
and
that.
yeah, you haven't seen that yet, and of course Midnight in Paris would be a lot safer. Um, you could
It
also
actually,
try
yeah.
everything. You could also try Everyone Says I Love You, which is his musical. It's gonna be there. Well, you're gonna be excited to see that. It's starring Drew Barrymore.
Ooh,
Julia Roberts is in that film.
fantastic!
I
Can't
think it's
wait.
1996, if I'm not mistaken. So I think those are the four
Okay.
titles I would recommend if there are children around. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't expect them to understand it, but of course you'd be safe. Like, it's gonna be
It's
just fine,
nice.
right?
It's music. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, he has something here. He has another question. Q hasn't seen the film yet, but he's commenting on Match Point,
Okay.
because he's from the UK, right? So
Hmm.
he says that everyone, c- much or most of the people love Match Point, but he doesn't rank it as high because being from the UK, that the accents, and I think the problem of that film is that there are some words that the British won't use, but him being an American, he writes it in there. So anyway, it just sounds weird. But thank you so much for letting us know your thoughts.
Hmm.
And he said that he really enjoys the podcast, and thank you so much. And also the people on Twitter, we are saying hello to them. We're gonna say hi to everyone on our next episode. So just stay there. We're gonna list out everyone because it's like it's not a lot of people, but we really appreciate the ones who are listening to us every week. We've been doing this
Ooh,
for more than a
thank you so
month now.
much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So how how's the celebrity so far? You don't think people are gonna ask for your autographs anytime soon? Q,
I
right?
I would be embarrassed to give my autograph, to be honest. Even if they ask. I'm already terrified. I'm already pretty bad at taking selfies. I mean, I couldn't imagine myself taking autographs. But thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for listening at our sometimes stupid, sometimes quirky
Yeah.
commentary about Woody Allen's films. I would never stop apologizing for some of my opinions in this.
No, I think you know what I think you're because I kind of saw the evolution of you as a viewer from Take the Money and Run to now. If because obviously if you've seen this film, like if you've seen this as your first Woody Allen film, you was like, what the fuck was that, right?
What?
Um,
What?
but yeah, it kind of like prepares you for something a little bit more complex now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've have you tried watching Fast and the Furious 9? And did it kill your brain cells or something?
Thankfully, I have not, because family is the
Because
best.
yeah, I see a lot of family memes. But what I'm getting at is that it's movies. Watching these kinds of movies kind of enriches the experience for you.
Oh,
You know,
for sure,
you
for
know,
sure, for
you
sure.
go to movies and you're gonna feel yourself appreciating a lot more than you used to. So
When you stopped at feel myself,
oh no
you're gonna
no no
feel
that's not
yourself.
what I
I'm like,
meant.
oh.
Yeah, that is not what I meant.
No,
Although
no,
that is
no.
a very Woody Allen joke.
No, but yeah, you're right when you said that watching art house films,
Yeah.
really does enrich kind of like your viewing experience, when especially when you watch other films. I mean, I don't think I'd ever stop watching stupid shit.
I don't stop watching stupid
Yeah,
shit. I love
but
stupid shit. Yeah.
but it at least now you can properly identify what's stupid shit and what's substantial shit.
Which is the point, right? There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with
exactly.
stupid as long as it's not your daily diet, so to speak. But this
Yeah.
has been our weekly diet from now on. We're seeing Woody Allen film once a week at least for Q. I have to see a lot of the things that I haven't seen yet that are coming, so that I kind of know what I'll be the prepared one because I don't want to be like dumbfounded, like what was that? So I have to see the films before we record. But yeah, I think that's it for now, and we'll see you again next week for a Midsummer
Next
Night
week.
Sex Comedy.
That was today's episode of Woody Allen's Decades in Film, a podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time.
Join us again next week for another deep dive on the art of Woody Allen.